Hello everyone! Welcome to a Plastic Cover science lesson. Did you know that British Science Week is happening on the 6th to the 15th of March this year, and the theme for 2026 is curiosity. Now, curiosity is really important for science. It encourages us to look at the world around us and ask questions. So, to get ourselves ready, we're going to use our curiosity today. We're going to be asking questions and trying to find the answers. And we're going to get curious about a material that is all around us. It's in your classroom, in your home, maybe even in the clothes that you're wearing right now. Yep, we are, of course, talking about plastic. So for our warm-up, I want you to look at a plastic item near you, or think of one that you use often. Maybe a ruler, a bottle, or some packaging. And I want you to think of some questions about plastic that you want to investigate and find out the answer to. What scientific questions can you think of? There are some words on the screen here to help you. For example, your question could be, why doesn't plastic biodegrade? Or do all plastics float? Your teacher will write your questions down so that you have a wall of class curiosity questions to explore later in the lesson. Pause the video now and write down your questions. Great thinking, everyone. Now let's investigate plastic and try and find out the answers to your questions. Have a look around your classroom. What plastic items have you used so far today? Did you use any before you came to school? Are there any on your table in the classroom right now? You might have some plastic in your lunchbox or be using a plastic pen. We use plastic for loads of things. But why? Well, sometimes it might be obvious. For example, I wouldn't want my school lunchbox to be made of stone and be super heavy to carry around and easy to break. But what about these items on screen? Can you think of what they are used for and why they're made from plastic instead of another material? Pause and have a think. Good thinking, everyone. You might have talked about the fact that plastic is waterproof, strong, light, cheap to make, flexible, and durable. For lots of items, this makes plastic an amazing material. But you might have heard lots of negative things about plastic in the past, instead of how brilliant it is. This is because sometimes these amazing properties cause problems, especially when plastic gets into the environment as litter. Can you think why these features that make plastic so good might be a problem in this situation? Pause again to discuss. So, we've spoken about the different properties of plastic and how they can be good or bad. Now it's time for you to investigate them yourself. Together with your teacher, you'll choose some of the questions from your class question wall that you thought of earlier and put them to the test. Now, before you carry out your test, you need to make a prediction. A prediction is like making a guess about what you think will happen in a situation or an experiment. So, for example, let's say we wanted to test whether plastic is waterproof. First, you need to guess whether you think it is or not. Then you can do your test. In this case, it could be pouring some water on it. Then you observe the outcome of your investigation to make a conclusion. A conclusion is what we figure out after we've done an experiment. It's like looking at all of the information and results to understand what happened or what we learned. So, in the example of plastic being waterproof, did the plastic absorb the water that you put onto it, or did the water run straight off it? Pause the video now to start your experiments. Well done, everyone. You are proper scientists now. What did you find out in your conclusions? You might have investigated the fact that plastic is waterproof and can float in water. You might have figured out that plastic is pretty durable, meaning that it's strong despite how light and thin it is. Now think back to what you discussed earlier about when the properties of plastic can become problems instead of being something good. Since plastic is so light, waterproof and durable, this means it can have a big negative impact when it's used for items that are designed to be single use. So that means ones that we use for a short amount of time before throwing away. lots of common plastic items are single-use, like plastic bottles, bags, or coffee cups. Think about it this way. We have a long-lasting, durable material that lasts on the planet almost forever, and we're using it to make items that we use for just a short period of time before throwing them away. Now, this is especially bad when plastic gets into the environment, where it can sit for hundreds of years. You may have noticed the word biodegradable on screen earlier. Because plastic is man-made, it doesn't biodegrade and instead breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces. These are called microplastics, like you can see on screen now. But this wasn't always the case. Plastic is actually a relatively recent invention. Now, it is much, much older than all of us, but it's been around for a lot less time than wood, stone, or other common materials. So, when do you think plastic was invented? And what materials were used before plastic was around? Pause and have a think. Well, let's find out the answers to these questions with the help of some pictures. Let's travel back in time. On the screen here and on a sheet in front of you, you have 4 pictures. Now, I want you to put them in the correct historical order. So basically, which of these came first, all the way to which is the most recent. Then we'll talk through the story of plastic and see if your predictions were correct. Good thinking, everyone. Now let's go through the answers. So first, what did we use before plastic? Well, we used items commonly made from glass, wool, stone, or wood, like this wooden spoon. These materials break down naturally, but they could be heavy, expensive, or break easily. Then we move on to the early plastics. These looked very different to the plastic that we commonly see today. An early version of plastic was actually called Parksine, named after its inventor, Alexander Parkes. Scientists invented plastic because they wanted a material that was strong, light, waterproof, and easy to shape, all of the amazing properties that we spoke about earlier. Then we get on to the plastic boom. This is when factories started making cheap plastic for everything. Plastic consumption has increased about 180 times from 1950 to 2018. And this is why plastic pollution has become such a problem. And this brings us to today, where we realise that we've created too much plastic waste. As we talked about earlier, plastic breaks down into tiny pieces called microplastics and stay in the environment for hundreds of years. It travels in rivers and oceans, and it harms animals. So, what can we do? Well, we're going to play a game called Save the Sea. We need to rescue the ocean from plastic waste by sorting it into 3 categories: reduce, reuse, or recycle. Firstly, reduce. This means, can we avoid using the plastic? So, for example, like using a metal water bottle that you can refill instead of a single-use plastic one. The second option is reuse. So, can we use the plastic again? For example, like a Tupperware container. And finally, recycle. Can we turn the plastic waste into something new? Now, your teacher will show you an item or pictures of a plastic item, and in the front of your classroom, there will be some hoops or some boxes, and these are like our special bins, one for each category. So you have to decide: reduce, reuse, or recycle. Then the plastic item or picture will be put into the correct bin. Are you ready? Off you go. Amazing job, everyone. You have put your curiosity to good use and acted like real scientists. Now have a look back at those curiosity questions that you wrote at the start. Did you answer any of them? Are there any that you still don't know the answer to? Keep asking questions and keep investigating. Now you are officially ready for British Science Week 2026. Bye!